S. Spiker, 33 years old, assigned to the USS Saratoga. With us now from Washington is Dr. Rona Fields, a psychologist and author who has spent 20 years researching and examining members of terrorist groups worldwide. Dr. Fields, you may hold the answer to the question I guess everybody has right now. What do you think is going on in the mind of Saddam Hussein?
Well, I think that the mind of Saddam Hussein is a very intelligent and effective, self-confident mind, if you want to call it that, and that he has quite thoroughly considered all of his alternatives, and primary amongst them the political points he's attempting to make. And of course his terror attack on Israel is his primary political point at this stage of the operation.
Do you think that he will consider now the point made, that we could look back and see this as a critical juncture where things begin to turn around as far as his determination to stick this out?
I think this is the beginning of a series of points. If we study the process of war in the Middle East, and particularly the process of hostilities as conducted by Saddam Hussein, it's a hostage process. The object is to maintain control of the majority of the population of the antagonist group as well as his own. And the most effective and historic way to do this is to keep people hostage to his next operation.
This continuing pounding of Baghdad, really, you don't think is going to have an impact? I mean, he is going to continue exactly in the mode he has been, with all the rhetoric and all the threats, as if nothing were happening?
Well, it's not as if nothing were happening. It's his use of what's happening to support his projected image of himself.
But can his image not help but become that of a defeated leader?
No. His image is becoming that of a martyred victim, a hero. And that's exactly the kind of image a person needs to have of himself to maintain a kind of self-righteous indignation that characterizes the member of a terrorist or paramilitary organization. And this is exactly the mindset that he's established for compatriots as well as for himself. Well, that's what he's communicating.
Are those compatriots going to stick with him, though? You know, at this point, it's only a day and a half into this. Do you see terrorist operations realizing that militarily, or it appears that militarily, the end for him is not all that far off? Do you think that his co-terrorists will stick with him?
Yes. In fact, I think he can gain steam as this proceeds. You see, he's operating from a culture and from a predicament that already views itself as vulnerable, threatened victims, and prospective victims. He's communicating this identification not only to others in Iraq, but certainly in the larger Arab community. And as Iraq takes the pounding, the verification is forthcoming. You see, and particularly as the pounding proceeds on what might be perceived as civilian targets, his message is validated.
So pounding of Israel will only enhance his image, you feel?
Unfortunately, yes.
So as far as the U.S. is concerned, then, from a psychological standpoint, there's no way to win this.
Well, I think from a psychological standpoint, there are a lot of alternatives in a democracy that don't exist in large parts of the world in which a person's repertoire is limited, both by violence and dictatorship.
Thank you very much. You've answered some of the questions I think trouble everybody about just who this person is.
Thank you, Dr. Fields. CBS News coverage of Operation